Okay, good evening, everybody. I'll start with a little introduction for anybody that doesn't know me that might be watching the recording. I think everybody that's on here live tonight knows who I am, so that's awesome. But I'm Trish. I'm founder of Rise and Thrive Coaching Ltd. For the last 2.5 years, I've been coaching with health and fitness, and I've always had a strong focus on mindset with my clients. And I finally decided that I wanted to branch out a bit and create my own custom mindset coaching programs. And so 5 to Thrive was born. We just finished round 1. Round 2 is launching soon. Very excited. Tonight, I want to show you guys how simple it can be to get back your energy and your motivation without waiting for like that mystical work-life balance that I think a lot of us feel is like that unicorn that is just like never going to come into our lives until we retire. But before I forget, I do want to run a giveaway for you guys tonight. I love being able to gift back. You're donating some of your time to me, so I want to be able to give something back to you guys as well. So if you just snap a quick selfie with the computer in the background, or take a screenshot if you're on your phone, pop it into your Instagram stories. Make sure to tag me because that's how I see that you did it. And then before the call's over, I'll do the draw. And I've already forgotten if I said or not, but it's just a $25 Amazon gift card. Just a little token of appreciation for you coming on. But let's get this party started. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to just pop in the chat thread really quick. What do you feel is the most draining part of your day? Like the task that at the end, you're just like, energy is just gone. There's nothing left in the tank. Work, work. I think that that's where the grocery shopping, the store can be like pretty overwhelming. Coming home from work and bringing the kids home, the evening, parenting through strong emotional kids, it does take a whole other level when your kids are emotionally strong. And adding a new baby in there, that is a lot. Dealing with the oldest daughter, parenting. So much energy into work that there's nothing left at the end of the day when you're with your kids and your spouse. I think that that's like the biggest one. And that's where that desire to have that work-life balance comes in, right? When we feel like work is taking everything out of us to the point that we have nothing left to give to what we do want to give to in a day. Because a lot of us don't want to give as much as we do to work. It's a very conscious effort. We know that we kind of have to because you got to pay the bills. And inflation is insane. So there's no desire to like job hunt. So, and I imagine outside of that, like even outside of work, we still have like, that's our most draining task, right? Like that's the one that kind of takes us from like 100% down to 50. Like when you're recording a video on your phone and it just like bloop right down, you could have been fully charged and 50% is just gone. And we kind of have like all of these other little energy suckers sprinkled in throughout our day. And by the time we get to the end, it's just like you had this full balloon in the morning and we had that big like just compression of air leaving, and then there's just this like slow trickle out for the rest of the day. And we're told that the solution for that is going to be work-life balance, right? Somebody tells you that like, oh, well, you just need to solve that. Like once you have that, everything will be great again. And one of the problems that a lot of us are faced with, I know that there's a lot of moms on this call tonight, and this is going to apply to people that are not parents as well, but we're held to an insanely high standard, whether you're working or staying at home, that you're the glue of the household, right? And basically, you're just given the task of micromanaging throughout the home. So even though you had no aspirations to be a CEO in your life, like you are the CEO of the house. So you are the one that is in charge of making sure that the house is clean. You're making sure the fridge is full. You make sure that the kids are fed and getting enough sleep, that your husband has clean socks for work tomorrow, that you have clean socks for work tomorrow. Like, you have to stay on top of everybody's appointments and kids' activities and work schedules. Like, you're the one that has to remind your significant other, hey, you have overtime tomorrow, you should go to bed. And you're also like, when's the insurance due? Like, I think it's this time of year. And there's just like this list going on and on and on. And it feels like a massive juggling act. And it's like exhausting, right? Like, it takes all of your attention to make sure that everything is staying afloat. And sometimes we're like, man, I wish I could just like pass this off to someone else. Like, people always say designate things, but like, I have to teach my husband how to juggle then. And that's not always easy either, right? And that's why it's really easy for us to feel like, I don't want to be on this half of the circus anymore. Like, at this point, I would rather be the guy that's like walking tightrope without the safety net underneath him. Like, that sounds more appealing than what I'm doing right now, right? Like, we just want anything that is going to remove us from this like just constant juggling act. And we're told that when things slow down, that it'll be easier to start new projects. Like, you'll have time and energy to create that new routine, and you'll actually have the space to like reconnect with friends that you haven't talked to in months. Like, sometimes I think some of us are like, I don't think that I've actually seen my friends since like Christmas last year, and it's Halloween already. Like, we don't even have time to keep our connections up, because a lot of us are going through these like super difficult situations in our life that, like work, we know is just draining our energy. We have illness, like even just the common flu that takes out the whole household. Maybe you had a job change. Even if you get a promotion and it's a change in a direction you want to go, it's still taking at your mental capacity, right? We have big moves, you have family emergencies. Like, we end up with all of these things that, outside of that work drain, is also draining our energy. And we feel like, maybe if all my energy wasn't going here, I would actually have some energy left over at the end of the day to want to do more than just crash on the couch and put on Netflix and almost inevitably watch a few more episodes. I don't know why they even put that feature in. The autoplay drives me nuts. I'm like, the last episode ended on a cliffhanger. I don't even have to pick up the remote. Like, I guess I'll be here for another 45 minutes, right? It's easy. And down to our core, we just know that if we had more time for ourselves in a day, we'd have the motivation and energy to do the things that we love. For most of us, it's really hard to see how we could possibly even have that time for ourselves. If you guys were on my last free workshop, we talked about time management and how difficult it is to see how like you even have a single minute in the day for yourself. There's like, I did the math last time. I don't have the math this time. It's like 54,000 minutes or something like that in a day. Like, that's a lot. It's probably 5,400. But like, you're just like, unless I can physically add 5 minutes to the clock, like, it's just not happening. And then people tell you, oh, well, you just need to take something off your plate. And you're standing there and you're looking at it and you're like, but like, what is going to go? Like, I can't drop anything unless I start telling the kids, like, you can't do your activities, or we just like skip the dentist this go around, like, then I can get an extra hour, right? And we get stuck in this, like, is the chicken or the egg, right? You kind of wonder, like, well, if I just like rip the band-aid off, if I get up tomorrow, no matter how tired I am, and I start the workout routine, like, will I see what this whole like energy produces energy thing is going to be? Like, I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Or do you wait for the day that you wake up motivated and you know that like that day is going to be the day that like you start strong and you kickstart that new routine, and you're like, I know that that's when I'm going to see like the actual changes. I'm going to actually stick to this time. And so we don't know which one. Like, do I force myself into it or do I wait for it to happen? And sometimes we're waiting like a really long time for that motivation to just like come in, right? Even after a vacation, you might come back and you're like, wow, it felt good to have some downtime. But I think a lot of us come back from vacation wanting a vacation, right? Like, you're so go, 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 go when you're on holidays, and you come home and you're like, I need 3 days to nap and do laundry and like maybe clean out the fridge because I forgot to do it before I left. And then we all have, like, at our fingertips, we have all of these extreme messages that are coming from influencers on social media. And a lot of them are coming from people that have been in their journey for so long that they actually forget what it was like when they started. So they're out here telling you, like, you just need to choose your hard. How many times have we heard that one, right? Like, it's hard to work out, but it's hard to be ill too. And while it's accurate, it's not necessarily like a motivator for a lot of people. Or they're telling you, like, well, everything is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Or you just need to put your head down and get to it. If you just like give up some sleep, then you can have that time for some self-care. You just need to put your phone down, just do it. And just like constant, like, people are trying to motivate us, but they're doing it with so much tough love. And you're like, that's not where I'm at, right? Has anybody tried skiing or snowboarding? Have any of you gone with like an experienced friend? You go out and you have this person that's like excited to take you, right? And they're telling you like it's going to be easy, you'll pick it up in no time, right? Because they've been doing it for a decade. And as you're heading into the chalet, they're like pointing out all these little kids and they're like, "Oh, well, if they can do it, you can do it. Like, we just got to get up there." And maybe you're excited for the day. Like, maybe you're somebody that's athletic and you love a new challenge and you're like, I'm here for it. Like, even if I suck at this, today is going to be a good day. Or maybe you're the friend that was like, you know what? I just had to have time with this friend. They told me that they're going skiing. And they didn't really have a choice. Maybe they flipped a coin and they were the one that got to choose what you're doing today. And you're just along for the ride, right? And either way, it doesn't matter, but you're going into this day with somebody telling you like you have nothing to worry about. And we trust our friends, right? If they tell us like, oh, this is going to be easy, like we just go along with it, right? And as you're going up to the chairlift, your friend is trying to explain everything to you because they decided that it's best to just like rip the band-aid off, like, let's go, let's get up there before the lineups get really long. And they're asking you like, are you regular or goofy? And you're like, what the fuck does that even mean? Also, I curse, sorry. um and they're telling you like all about their favorite run and they're using these like super random words. Powder King, like our local mountain, all the runs are named after like Beatles songs. So like, unless you know that, you're like, what the fuck are strawberry fields? Like, we're gonna go through some fields, like you have no idea what to expect. And they're just like talking to you like you should know everything. And you're heading up there and you're like, all I know is that green means beginner, blue means intermediate, and black sounds like certain death. Like, that's all you're going into this with. And after the inevitable wipeout that comes from getting off the chairlift the first time, because we're blessed with no gondolas, like you just have to figure it out as you're going. You get off and your friend brings you over to this run that they promised you is super easy, and you see that it's a blue run. And you're like, but I've never even done this before. Like, why are we starting with intermediate? But they promise you that like, oh, well, this one just goes straight down the hill. So you don't have to worry about learning how to turn. Like, all you have to do is just get to the bottom. And there's no groomed trail. It's just like, it snowed last night. So there's like 3 feet of powder and you're standing at the top and you're looking down at like all these people that are like stuck because they lost momentum. And again, you're just like, well, my friend has my best interest at heart. Like, I'm just going to listen to them. I'm going to follow them. And maybe you were the person that was just along for the ride. And somehow like your friend was like, oh, this is going to be the easy ride. You just have to go down. This is my bedtime alarm that does not apply tonight. They just knew that you just need to go straight down the hill. And they're like, oh, it only takes like 15-20 minutes. And somehow it took you an hour. And like the chairlift goes right above the run that you're doing. And people are like watching you and you're seeing that like the same person's gone up 3 times and you haven't even made it down the hill once. And you get to the bottom and you're like, I'm out. I'm not doing this again. That sucked. That was awful. I'm going to go hang out in the chalet and make buddies with somebody at the bar. You go like find somebody else to ride with and you're just done. And the inner mean girl, because she's always there, is in there telling you that like, well, this isn't for you. And then she's coming up with all the reasons why it was a bad idea to step outside of your comfort zone. Like, how embarrassing was that? Like, you can't see anything through. Like, she's just like in there. And then maybe you were the athletic friend. Maybe you were the person that was like up for the challenge and you go up and you bomb down the hill and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. But also, like, I don't see why you think this is fun. And you tell your friend, you're like, I didn't really enjoy it. Like, can we go and do something different? And for some reason, like every run they take you on just goes straight down the hill. It doesn't matter if it's blue or green or black, like they just keep taking you down like everything that's pretty much the same, even though it's called something different. And at the end of the day, you're like, okay, well, I took advantage of the day. Like I had a new experience, but like I'm not doing this again because this is like not my jam. And your inner mean girl isn't attacking your confidence, but she's reminding you that this is why you just stick to what you know. Like that was a waste of $200. Like that wasn't even fun. We could have went bowling like we do every Friday night and like just stay in your comfort zone. And some of us are experiencing this in our day-to-day life. When it comes to finding what produces energy for us, and we're being told like energy creates energy, and we're being shamed for not being able to like stick to a routine. But some of us have been sent down the wrong direction over and over again. We idolize the people that we follow on social media. Like there's a reason that you're following them, right? And just like that friend that we trusted enough to take a literal plunge off the side of a mountain, we trust these people to guide us down the right path too, right? We're watching them and we think, well, if they can achieve their goal weight, if they can make these amazing meals, if they can complete every project they start, if they seem to have that like power couple vibe going on, like maybe we just need to do what they're doing. They seem to know what the secret sauce is. I just need to do what they're doing. And what do we hear? We see it all over social media. Like there's literally a book called the 5 a.m. Club. We see everybody at the gym and journaling and getting out for exercise on their lunchtime. And everybody's preaching like you should just like put your phone away all night. Like don't turn on Netflix, like set boundaries with everybody in your life and cut ties with toxicity. And like there's all these extremes, right? And we've tried all of it. And every time it just feels like we've like face planted in the snow and somehow kicked ourselves in the back of the head. And you're like, I didn't even know that things could suck this bad. And this cycle is what we just get stuck in. That's telling us like, oh, well, you just need more time. When you wait for things to slow down, like you'll actually have the energy to start something new. We just like keep going back to that place where it's like, oh, well, this wasn't the sport for you. Right. And we don't need more time. We don't need to wait for life to slow down. Have you guys ever, there's always like two chargers in the house. There's one that charges your phone super fast. And then there's another one where you're like, I should plug this in when I go to bed and maybe it'll be at 100 when I wake up in the morning. And you just have to like know which one is which, right? Both are going to fill your tank, but how fast is it going to happen? And this is kind of the difference between like when we've mastered the art of energy equilibrium and we know what energy actually generates energy for us, we can stop playing that chicken or the egg game when it comes to energy and motivation. So instead of having somebody tell us what our steps should be to see success or results or experience happiness in your marriage and your just general relationships, we need somebody that can sit down with us and ask us what actually creates energy for us. Because for a lot of us, like that answer is not like at the top of our head, right? A lot of us know the things that we don't want to do, right? Some people are like, I'm not a morning person. Like, you know that straight out of the gates, right? But there's nobody there asking you, like, what do you actually like? So I want you guys to imagine that ski hill scenario for a minute. And imagine that your friend is actually patient. Like you're not out there with the jackass that's like, rip the band-aid off, let's go. You're out there with a friend that has some sort of like leadership qualities, like probably a teacher, because teachers know that everybody learns different. They have that experience. And they ask you what you're comfortable with. And they ask you what's off limits. And they encourage you to take that like little crash course that they offer when you're renting gear for the first time. They're like, come on over to our little bunny hill and learn how to stop in a safe space where you're not going to like crash into a tree. and they stay with you the whole time and they encourage you and they're cheering you on. And then they ask when you're ready. They ask if you're okay with continuing to take baby steps, and they take you up the chairlift and they take you down the green run, like the one that like swoops across the mountain and it's slow and steady and you can like kind of get your bearings. But along the way, you also get to look at the scenery, right? You get to kind of like look down the edge and be like, well, that kind of looks fun down there. And you ask your friend, like, hey, the next time we come down, can we poke off down over here? And they're stoked that you're getting that confidence because you had the time to actually build your confidence. So then you go and you're like, that was a little too much. And they're like, okay, well, now I have an idea of what you like. Like, let's go check out this run. And they purely have your best interest at heart. Like, they know that they're going to come up again next weekend for like 3 days. They don't care if they do the easy runs. Like, they just generally want you to love it because they're passionate about it and they want you to love it. Like, they don't care if you come again, but they don't want you to have a shit experience, right? So they take that time and they find like the runs that have a groomed trail and powder on the side. If you guys do try skiing, those are the sweet spots because you can kind of get comfortable. And if you get brave, like you can kind of deke off a little and then come back to comfort. It's like perfect. So when you have somebody in your corner, somebody that empathizes with your struggles, that can see that like you're a beginner, you're brand new at this is your chapter 1. But then they can also give you the tough love to say, like, you started a new book. We're not looking at that last book. We're not looking at the things that fell short or the things that failed. Like, we're moving forward. And if you can have somebody that checks in with you daily, like when you're creating a new routine, when you're trying to find that self-care routine that actually sticks, something that does produce energy, sometimes you need somebody checking in daily to say like, hey, what worked yesterday? What didn't work yesterday? And how can we adjust today? It goes a really long way. It makes it a lot easier to see something from start to finish because you're not just like scrolling social media and taking the advice from like the first person that you come across, right? Because sometimes we're like, well, they really know what they're doing. But we don't need to know what somebody else is doing, right? We need to know what works for us. We need to master our own energy equilibrium. We need to feel confident in our own ability to move through life's chaos without being totally knocked off course. And that's how we avoid experiencing burnout and overwhelm. I shared a reel today. I was talking about how a lot of us are saying, like, we want to wait for life to slow down and then we'll start. And it's kind of the equivalent of like after a storm and you go and climb your like favorite trail up the mountain and you get there and there's like a tree knocked down across the beginning of the path. And you're like, well, that's fine. Like, I can go underneath this one. And then you come across another one that you have to climb over. And that takes a little bit more energy, but like you can still kind of keep going. And then you come up against this landslide and it's like just a brick wall of boulders everywhere. And you're like, I don't know if I can get across this. That's what a lot of us are facing when we're like, well, I'll just wait for life to slow down. And then you're coming up against this boulder and you're trying to like rack your brain. You're like, I feel like I've seen somebody on social media like overcome this stuff. Like, how am I going to get through this? And a lot of times what happens is when we're trying to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, we forget that like our experience is different. What got you to today is not the same as what got anybody else to today. Because if you're someone that doesn't sleep well, like if you're somebody that tosses and turns all night, that 5 a.m. alarm going off is just going to result in an hour of hitting snooze. And you're going to wake up at 6 o'clock, even more miserable than if you had just initially set your alarm for 6 o'clock. And if you're somebody that struggles with like crippling social anxiety, the idea of going to the gym to learn how to lift weights and not have people judge you or like get sweaty and huff and puff on the elliptical next to the person that like slays cardio all day and night, it's not going to be a mental health release for you when it's like taxing on your mental health, right? We're just like coming up against this resistance over and over again because somebody told us that like, oh, well, this is it. Like, this is the secret. And if you're somebody that struggles with like confrontation, for somebody to tell you like, oh, you just need to set boundaries. Oh, you just need to be upfront with people. You just need to communicate. It can be difficult to be like, okay, well, I'm going to sit down with my partner face to face. And that like gets my heart pounding. And like, I'm going to say something that I don't want to say. And again, like, we're doing something based on what somebody else said, but it just goes against everything that we know and everything that we are. And this is like my favorite example. If you're somebody that shouldn't touch power tools, it doesn't matter how easy a DIY looks on Pinterest. Like, you're going to spend more money getting somebody to come and repair the things that you did very wrong than if you had just hired them in the beginning, right? That's me. I'm that person. And when you have a system that's basic, when we're not trying to like overload with all of these apps and all of these opinions and like the 15 influencers that we follow on social media, when we have a system that like doesn't rely on extremes, when we have something that doesn't require monthly membership fees or the 5 a.m. wake ups, like, you can actually have a routine that will never fail you. You'll have something that even on the most draining of days, it'll actually produce energy for you. And as we approach the holidays, when everybody is kind of in that, like, I'm about to go in like holiday survival mode, it's more important than ever that we dial in this energy before we enter the holidays, so that when we get to January 2023, we don't feel like we're coming into that trail right after the storm. Because again, a lot of us finish vacation, we're like, I need a vacation for my vacation. And December is an entire month of that, right? We have Christmas parties on the weekend. And when you go to the mall, it's overstimulating. And like, you have to remember to get your kids' teachers things and all of this, like, just never ending stuff. And you have all these family members saying like, oh, when you come to town, make sure you come see me. And you're like, literally nothing about this vacation is a vacation. I'm coming to you guys. How about you all come to one house? Like, we're just like getting pulled in all these directions. And that energy is just like constantly draining. And that's why the theme for the next round of 5 to Thrive is specifically focusing on how to keep our pillars strong through the holidays. Because I don't want you guys to feel like all you have to do is survive the holiday season. Like, I want you guys to thoroughly enjoy the holidays. There's so much. And again, what lights one person up is not going to light the other person up. If you hate going out into the cold, you don't need a real Christmas tree. It's okay to go to Canadian Tire. You can have energy, and it doesn't mean that you have to go and do all the things that everybody else is doing, right? We get stuck in that comparison game so very easily, especially when it comes to the holidays, and especially if you have kids. Because you see other moms doing this and you're like, well, shit, I should probably be doing that. Like, that seems, they look happy. And what I want to help you guys do is actually create that happiness for yourself so that you don't fall victim to that comparison game, because that's a huge energy drain on its own too. Would it be okay? I kind of have talked a lot and I want to do your guys' giveaway here right away. But is it okay if I share a little bit more about like what exactly 5 to Thrive is, like what the program looks like? Yeah. I gotta catch up on the chat thread. I just realized that I kind of teaching adult beginners is a very big, like, eye-opening experience, Kimberly. That's right. Kelly doesn't want her friends to see her fail. Flail fail. It is difficult sometimes, even though they love us. We're like, you're gonna like heckle and make some comments for sure. It's that whole I'm never gonna hear the end of it, right? Kind of holds us back. Okay. I'm going to screen share because I made pretty graphics and that makes me happy. But before I share that, I want to just kind of share a testimonial for you guys from the first round. I had this client that was doing weekly check-ins it was either Friday or Saturday, depending on the pillar, but I was asking like how things went, how much of an impact did it create on you this week? And week 3, we focused on recharge. And this client, she said, this week we started working on recharge. And while I was indulging in a nice bath, I got the news that a family member had been in an accident. And while they were okay, the initial news was a bit of a shock. A few weeks ago, that news might have sent me spiraling, but my mind was already in a place of relax and recharge, and I was able to reframe it using the mindset exercise. I cut my recharge short and headed over thinking the affirmation, if I can be there for my family, I am supportive. And it was like, that one gave me goosebumps when I got it. Like, that was the coolest probably transformation I could see anybody go through. because that was one thing when my mother-in-law was sick last year that I just kept grounding myself. And if I take care of me, I can show up for everybody else in the way that I want to show up. So it was just like really impactful to hear that one. And I really wanted to share that one with you guys as well. But I'm going to share a screen here. So 5 to Thrive is my program that teaches you guys the 5 essential pillars to take you from surviving to thriving. I have to move things to the other side and then I get distracted in where I'm looking. So basically the concept with the program is we have these 5 pillars. So these are the pillars of vulnerability, and I've added mindset in there, but the 4 like basic human requirements for us to function are movement, nourishing our body, taking some time to recharge, and staying connected with loved ones. And basically the way you can picture it is like you have these 4 pillars that are holding up your roof. And I added in mindset because I feel like you need an odd number to keep things actually stable and not so rocky. Because what happens, and this is the easiest example, is a lot of us, if we forget to eat, we go too long without food, now we're hangry. And maybe you slept like shit last night, and now you've got 2 pillars missing. I can't do my fingers. Now you have 2 pillars missing. And then because you're hungry and you're tired, you probably snap at your loved ones. And then there goes your connection pillar. And then because we have all these things stacked against us, our inner mean girl gets really loud saying, look at you, lashing out at your loved ones. You're not eating again. You're not sleeping. The last thing you want to do is move your body. So they just like domino effect. And before you know it, like your roof comes crashing down. So that's the importance of these pillars. And that's why like these are a very strong focus. This is what the program is built around. And what we do is every week I have a mindset call for you guys. And the call will be around 1 pillar at a time. I do have different focuses. The first round, for example, movement was around the concept of all or nothing. Like a lot of us really need to overcome that concept of the all or nothing mentality for us to actually create a movement routine that sticks. And really driving home that movement does not always equal sweat or elevated heart rate or anything like that. So just as an example of like what we did last time. So we get on this call, I share a mindset shift, just like I did tonight, give you guys some actionable steps. The thing that goes above and beyond what we did tonight is that there's journal prompts at the end. So I actually have like a coaching session with you guys to be able to help you build what is going to be unique and customized to you. And then I also always have some time at the end for anybody that wants to dig a little bit deeper. If you're somebody that's like, you know what, like every year, it doesn't matter. Like I just come up against this. When I go on vacation, I fall off the wagon, everything's gone. You can actually have like some FaceTime with me. And the cool part about this is that there's almost always at least one other person that is struggling with the same thing that you're struggling with. And it helps us to not feel alone, which is so important when you feel like you're struggling with something. We feel so isolated and we feel like our problems are just like unsolvable because we're the only person struggling with this. It's helpful when you can hear like, oh, somebody else is struggling with this, and you're going to also benefit from the advice that I'm sharing with them and the coaching session that happens. It can really drive it home for you as well. And then like I mentioned in the energy call, the daily check-ins are so important. This is a very different program in that it's not as cookie cutter. It's a very unique, right? You're creating your own custom plan, and that's going to take some time to get used to. So we do 1 pillar each week at a time, and they like stack. So we start with the easiest one and then just like kind of move through the ones that are going to build on the week prior. And again, because no 2 people are the same, somebody may need like morning motivation check-ins, and some people might need that afternoon accountability to say, hey, did you do this today? So you have the option to be on either text list, but you get a daily text during the week, a Saturday morning kind of check-in recap on the week. And then Sunday, because that's when we do the call, I don't do a text because I'm going to check in with you guys when you hop on the call there. And then you're also going to get this custom built workbook. So the journal prompts are going to all be in this workbook. There's also time management sheets in there so you can plan out your week, which is also something that because you have access to me, if you're like, I don't even know how to time block, like you get to work through that with me. This saves you from having to search for the perfect journal or having like a planner and a journal and like all of these things on the go, because then we just end up losing things. So it's all in this like one little place that you can come back to. So if I were to run that program for one person, if we did this one-on-one, the weekly live group coaching sessions would come out to $500 because it's $100 a session with me. Daily check-ins, that's recuperating the cost. I use an app so that my cell phone isn't actually put out into the world. I have a number attached to the app that I use. So that covers the cost of that. And then the custom built workbook is $50. So if you were doing this with me one-on-one, it would be almost $650, right? Which is like a steep cost for a lot of us, especially as the holidays are coming. And it's just like not manageable. And for me to be able to offer it to one-on-one people, I'd only be able to take on so many. So I offer it for a group. And because it's going to a group and you're not getting like an hour of just you and me, I do drop the cost. So I take everything down. So now instead of $100 a session, it's only $30 a session. And then I bring the daily check-ins down to $1 each, because when I can bulk things together, obviously things are cheaper on my end. And then the workbook is only $15. So that brings it all the way down to $200. For the full 5 weeks, you are totally taken care of. You're getting those sessions with me. You're getting daily check-ins. You're getting the custom built workbook. And then for you guys tonight, because again, I like just paying it forward, and you donated your almost an hour of your time by the time we wrap this up, I want to give you guys the workbook for free and take an additional 10% off. And a large part of this comes from, I know that we're approaching the holidays and it's really hard to feel like, I think a lot of us when we were growing up, it was ingrained, like, don't buy yourself anything after Halloween, like somebody else might get it for you. And then so we're already like hardwired to not spend money on ourselves when we come up to the holidays. So I wanted to make this as affordable as possible for you guys, while still respecting like the value that you're going to get. A lot of us, we get more out of something when we invest, right? When you put some skin in the game, you're kind of like, okay, well, I got to do this. So for the next 24 hours, if you're watching the recording, this will just be active for Thursday, November 3rd. And I'll honor that all the way up until midnight. So if you shoot me a text at like 11:30 at night, the next morning when I wake up, I will still honor that price for you guys. So I'll have a discount code applied for that if you guys are interested in signing up. I don't need to screen share anymore because that's it for the graphics. Does anybody have any questions about the program? Is it something that you're kind of entertaining, but you're like, I don't know if it would like benefit me, or just any questions at all about the energy equilibrium or anything like that? You guys have me for a little bit more. I have a bit more time kind of set aside for this. So if anybody has anything, pop it in the chat thread, or you can unmute and we can chat. Or we can all go to bed early, and that's okay too. How long is the program? So the program, Jen, is 5 weeks long. So the program starts this Sunday, and then it'll be weekly. I think that it wraps up that first weekend of December. So we're finishing before Christmas parties start and all that. The calls are always recorded as well. You guys also get lifetime access. So if things like, if shit hits the fan and you just like can't make those calls, you do have it for life. And the cool part about that is also like, if you do this and it gets you through the holidays, sometimes we can like kind of fall off track, right? And then you get to go back to it. So you can utilize it anytime in your life. More info on the website. Yes. So I have a VA that did a beautiful job setting up my website, and it's super pretty and there's information everywhere. I do need to go in there tonight and activate the button to be able to register for 5 to Thrive. But if you are looking at signing up, make sure that you reach out so that I can give you the discount code, because that is going to be something that I only give out to you guys. It's not going to be applicable. Like if I talk to somebody else tomorrow and they were not on this call or registered and getting the recording, they're not taking advantage of that discount. This is for you guys, for giving me some of your time. Will this one be different from the last one? Yes and no. The pillars are the same. we're still going for the concept of creating that bare bones kind of plan, but the mindset pieces that we're working through are going to be different. So the focus is going to be more on the common struggles that we face, specifically with the holidays. The best example is a lot of people tell me that over the holidays, nutrition is like the thing that goes farthest out of the wagon. And in the last round, the focus with nourishment was adding things in, and that's not what I want to tackle with this one. I have a very specific focus that I want to take with you guys. I want to say mindful eating because that's the most simple way to put it, but not in the way that you guys are used to like seeing on social media or anything like that. So it's just like a very specific focus around the holidays and how to navigate that to get through there. But it also ripples out. Like if we have that strong foundation well before we go into the holidays, it's a lot easier to carry that momentum through. So the discount until midnight is $166.50. I think the 50 cents was there. That's not important. Yeah, $166.50. So that's bringing the calls are $150. The daily check-ins are $35. You get the workbook for free and 10% off. So it's $166. And after that, you guys were still all on this call and you would get it for the $185, I think was the price that I have above. I should be more familiar with my own things. No, it is $200. So $166 for the next 24 hours. And then after that, it would go up to the $200. And we start Sunday. So deadline for registration, I like to have it for noon, just because I do have to get you like set up with your own access, get you the Zoom links, get you the journal so that you can download it. So I do try to keep that like pretty tight. I mean, if you message me at 12:30, I'm probably not going to turn you away. But I do try to keep that one fairly punctual. And then with the crew that comes in for this round, I'll put a poll out to see if anybody wants to do Sunday evenings, Sunday afternoons, or Sunday mornings. I do try to keep it to Sunday just because that tends to be the day people have the least commitments and also the least amount of energy drains. So that's kind of the focus there in Canadian. So anybody in the US is going to save a little bit, which is awesome for you guys. Yeah. I appreciate everybody asking so many questions. It's nice. Does everybody feel like after this, like you're going to take some time tonight to sit down and reflect on like, okay, what do I keep trying to force myself into to try to like produce energy that feels like you're actually just hitting a wall? And then tomorrow I want you guys to be aware of it. Like what kind of goes against your like what's creating that resistance for you? And then watch for the things that do feel good. And if you're not quite there, reach out to me and we'll address it. Thank you all. Oh, giveaway. I did this last time I did a call too. I forgot to do the giveaway. Okay. So last time I did this, I don't have fancy apps. So I'm just going to tap on somebody. Tisha, you win again. I think you won the last round too. So that's awesome. So I will make sure that I get you your own discount code so that you can get that access there. If anybody can't afford the live program and you're wanting something with the mindset shift, I am working on how to sell the like previous program as just the recordings. That would obviously be less because you're not getting things live. The energy is obviously very different when you listen to a recording versus being here like in the moment. So I'm kind of looking at that. So if you're not totally sure, that's something that's kind of in the works. But I also don't know how long that'll take because my VA has a few projects on the go. But thank you all so very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you all got so much out of this. And I hope that you all have an amazing day tomorrow. Fill up your cups, boost that energy. And we're going to go into the weekend feeling so dang good. Hope you all have an amazing night. Talk to you later.